Okay, so in today's horror reaction, we have got a tagline that says the 10 worst theme park accidents in human history, #3. So I take it there's more of these videos. If this is any good, we'll check out some more, and you guys can let me know if you want to see any more of this sort of stuff by letting me know in the comments. Right, okay, let's get into the video. Right, let's see what these 10 worst theme park accidents in human history entails. Let's get it.
If just looking at a roller coaster makes you dizzy and
I love roller coasters.
Don't get embarrassed. It's a pretty justified reaction, as this seemingly innocent attraction can turn into a horror movie at any moment.
I'd go on them all.
In 2019 alone, nearly 1,300 people got injured in American amusement parks. Unfortunately, some of them weren't lucky enough to survive.
Wow.
Now, rides kind of seem to be this deadly game where anyone can lose their life. But do you want to find out how far you can fly from the attraction? Or if it's really possible to lose your head on a roller coaster?
Do you want to find out how far you can fly from a roller coaster? I feel like there's an element of sarcasm there. Or how you can lose your head. I mean, come on, is that where we're going with this?
Far you can fly from the attraction, or if it's really possible to lose your head on a roller coaster. Or finally, if there's anything to protect you on those deadly rides. When you think of amusement parks these days, you imagine lots of incredible transformer-like machines, each created specifically to bring joy and satisfaction. That's what, in 1930, visitors of Krug Park in Omaha, Nebraska thought about as well. Especially when they saw the stunning Big Dipper attraction.
Blackpool.
It was a giant wooden roller coaster that impressed everyone with its size and extreme popularity.
That looks better than the one in Blackpool. We've got one up here in Blackpool called a Big Dipper, but that looks way more extreme. But you've also got to take into account that this is 1930. And there was probably no such thing as health and safety then.
So, on a warm summer evening, it was no surprise that all 4 carriages of the attraction were packed up with 23 passengers. The mechanism began to lift them up the first slope when, suddenly, there was a crack of wood, a loud roar, and then screams. It turned out that one of the cars went off the rails, broke through the protective fence, and fell from a height of over 10 meters. Yet this was just the beginning of a terrible tragedy. The hoist chain was still functioning, pulling the other 3 cars after the first one. The attraction turned into a pile of scrap metal with a few passengers trapped there. Thousands of people immediately began to gather near the accident site. The crowd blocked the path for ambulances, so the police had to break down part of the park fence for doctors to reach the victims. It turned out that 19 passengers got injured and 4 passed away. Among the victims was Gladys Lundgren and her friend, C.H. Stout, who agreed to accompany the woman on the roller coaster. The youngest victim, 15-year-old Ruth Farrell, was crushed by one of the falling cars. And the 4th victim was a young man, Anthony Politica, who persuaded his 16-year-old sister, Mary, to ride a roller coaster with him.
I was just going to say, this is very Final Destination-like, and they're showing clips from Final Destination. It's number 4, isn't it, with the roller coaster? That's got some crazy deaths in it, that film.
He died the next morning, while Mary survived despite a severe skull fracture. The police started an investigation. It turned out that the wheels of one of the carriages jammed due to a mechanical breakdown. This bloody incident eventually led to Krug Park getting shut down and the city of Omaha banning all roller coasters. You could think that the tragedy happened because, in the 30s, little was known about the construction of attractions and the safety rules for them.
Health and safety.
However, that's not really the case because the design of the roller coaster was patented back in 1885. On top of that, a similar disaster took place 42 years later in London's legendary Battersea Park, which was opened 4 years earlier than Disneyland. Oddly enough, a roller coaster there was also called
Big Dipper.
Big Dipper. The giant wooden ride had been...
all Big Dippers that I've seen are all made out of wood. All modern coasters are all metal, aren't they? You know what I mean? Plus, them wooden coasters, you know, they're rickety and they hurt your neck, your back, your arms, your legs. You go on a nice, smooth metal coaster and it glides. You only find that out after being on one, then going back on one of them rickety old ones.
A roller coaster there was also called Big Dipper. The giant wooden ride had been operating successfully since 1951 up until one of the worst tragedies in the history of roller coasters happened there. In mid-May of 1972, the British school holidays had just begun and Battersea Park was overcrowded. Children and teenagers took their seats on Big Dipper. But right when they were first riding up, the traction cable broke and the carriages flew downward, speeding up with every second. The braking system failed, so the cars went off the rails and crashed into each other, trapping dozens of people in the wreckage. Everything happened just like in Krug Park, except this time, the number of victims spiked up to 5 children, with 13 more seriously injured. This caused a terrible...
That to me, I mean, people dying and stuff is sad anyway, but when it's kids and stuff, it breaks me out when you see when they tell you it's kids that's died.
5 children, with 13 more seriously injured. This caused a terrible uproar among local residents. Still, it was the incident investigation that shocked everyone indeed. Apparently, there were problems at every step. Altogether, investigators found 66 violations, including missing brakes, an unmaintained traction cable, warped track,
missing brakes and unmaintained carriages.
Including missing brakes,
more stuff that could have been avoided,
traction cable, warped track, and outdated parts that were almost 50 years old. In addition, the wooden emergency walkway rotted, and one of the passengers who survived the impact fell from there and died. But it doesn't end there. The police discovered that the attraction's operators were under the influence of alcohol or drugs at the time of the accident. The amusement park was closed 2 years later, but the culprits were never found. It's worth noting that this happens in most such cases, leading to the idea that visitors themselves are to blame for not surviving those rides. As if buying a ticket, you give consent, even to your own death. In reality, though, amusement parks have an incredible number of ways to kill you, and not all of them are as obvious as roller coasters going off the rails. For example, Kings Island in Ohio murdered 3 people.
Murdered? I mean... How can people be allowed to get drunk and then operate rides and be drunk when they're checking the maintenance, if you like? You just wouldn't. It's like wouldn't get drunk at work, would you? Do you know what I mean? It's
going off the rails. For example, Kings Island in Ohio murdered 3 people in one day, but during 2 different incidents. On June 9th, 1991, 2 friends were walking by a pond with fountains in the park. One of them, Timothy Benning, wanted to splash his friend, William Haithcoe, as a joke. However, as soon as the man touched the pond, he fainted and fell into the shallow water. His friend immediately rushed to help, but the same thing happened to him. Park employee Daryl Robertson noticed the strange accident and rushed to the visitors. Obviously, the result was the same. It turned out that they were all struck by a powerful discharge of electric current because the damaged wire of the fountain electric pump was lying right in the water. As a result, Benning, who was the first to fall into this trap, got seriously injured but survived. Unfortunately, 2 of his rescuers weren't that lucky. Of course, this wouldn't have happened if a simple automatic switch had been installed on the underwater equipment.
Like an RCD or something. I mean, what? It's like dropping a toaster in the bath, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's like, instant. Fainted. He didn't faint, he collapsed.
Wouldn't have happened if a simple automatic switch had been installed on the underwater equipment. Moving on, it wasn't the only tragedy at Kings Island that day. About an hour after the pond incident, 32-year-old drunk Candy Taylor decided to ride the Flight Commander attraction right before the park closure. But soon, she flew out of the carousel, falling from a height of 21 meters. Taylor was alone in the cabin, so no one knows for sure why the seatbelts didn't work. Maybe she wanted to see the medical helicopter taking away injured Timothy Benning. Unlike him, the woman didn't survive. Falling off is indeed one of the biggest dangers on rides. Yet such terrible and unpredictable incidents sometimes happen that it's scary to even talk about them. One of them took place at Schlitterbahn Water Park in Kansas City. A water slide was set up there, which, according to all the laws of common sense, just shouldn't exist.
Listen, I love a good kamikaze ride, water slide. I love water parks. I loved every single ride. That kamikaze slide there, I'll be straight on it.
Was set up there, which, according to all the laws of common sense, just shouldn't exist. However, the co-owners of the water...
Look at that ride! Right? Look how it goes down. Then obviously you're going like a million miles an hour when you go down that ride. And then it comes up with a hump, like a ramp. No, I wouldn't be on that ride. Look at that second hump.
All the laws of common sense just shouldn't exist.
No.
However, the co-owners of the water park, Jeff Henry, along with designer John Shuley, wanted to create the largest and fastest water attraction on Earth. None of them had experience in building such structures, so the men chose the trial and error method. Finally, in 2014, they opened an attraction.
Look at that, it's a ramp, it's a jump.
From a height of almost 51 meters, and named it Verrückt, meaning crazy in German. In 2 years afterward, perhaps one of the most horrific accidents in the history of amusement parks happened there. The Schwab's family came to Schlitterbahn with their 4 sons. Parents let their 12-year-old Nathan and 10-year-old Caleb go down the highest water slide attraction.
Look, it's a jump.
The boys climbed up, while the rest of the family was waiting for them below. Caleb went first, after the boy descended almost vertically, reaching a speed of about 113 kilometers per hour. His raft flew into the air and crashed into a protective metal net. It should have saved Caleb, but instead, he slammed into the support so hard that he got decapitated. The boy's body and head rolled down to the pool below, where his brothers and mother were waiting for him. This story turned out to be so daunting that the slide was immediately shut down, and after years of investigation, it was completely demolished. But guess what? No one was punished for Caleb Schwab's tragic death, even though
Jesus Christ. I know he's not really showing what happened or how it happened, just like some of the after effects and the actual ride. But the visuals it's giving you when you're thinking about what happened, and his head flying off and just, oh my God, rolling into the bottom pool. That's tough, that, isn't it? That's tough.
But guess what? No one was punished for Caleb Schwab's tragic death.
That's a travesty.
Even though his father was a Kansas state representative. If the Verrückt slide seemed rather extreme to you, in Australia, it was the family river attraction that turned out to be deadly. A terrible tragedy took place in the Dream World amusement park on the Gold Coast in Queensland. The place was famous for its unusual family entertainment, a rapid river with stylized banks, which visitors sailed along on special round rafts. The trip took only about 4 minutes, and the speed of movement didn't exceed 45 kilometers per hour. So it was a pretty safe ride, and no one expected what would happen. In October of 2016, as one of the rafts, with 6 passengers on board, was returning to the final route destination, another empty raft appeared stuck in its path. This shouldn't be a problem, right? Still, the attraction didn't stop. Mere seconds before the tragedy, Kate Goodchild and another passenger threw their children aside. The next moment, the rescued girl and boy were screaming frantically because their mothers were dying before their eyes. 4 adults were injured in the collision and then fell into the river. Park officials shut down the ride and pumped out the water, trying to rescue the trapped people. However, none of them survived. Apart from 2 women, Kate Goodchild's brother and her partner passed away as well. Just 2 weeks before the tragedy, another visitor to the park published a negative review of Dreamworld. She and her children noticed technical problems with several attractions at once, adding that on one of them, a seatbelt came undone in midair. The woman wrote that someone might get harmed one day, and she turned out to be right. Like other incidents mentioned in the video, Thunder River Rapids ceased to exist after the tragedy. The investigation concluded that the accident occurred due to inadequate service and a lack of skills on the part of the staff. But, of course, no one was arrested.
You know what? Watching this now, I'm thinking like I'm not going on any more rides, me. That's me done with rides. Because it's all right seeing the ones from 1930 and 1950 when the health and safety wasn't as like what's the word? As nitpicky as it is now. But then again, that was in 2016.
Of skills on the part of the staff. But, of course, no one was arrested. It turns out that the giant entertainment industry, which serves hundreds of millions of people around the world, doesn't make any guarantees that you'll stay alive. Even parks with impeccable safety records can't promise that. Take, for instance, Adventureland in Farmingdale, near New York, which had operated for 43 years without a single tragic incident. Until 2005 changed everything.
Aren't they getting closer?
First, an 18-year-old park employee was crushed on a children's roller coaster. For unknown reasons, the boy fell face down on the rails, and the cars ran over him. And just 3 days after this incident, a terrible tragedy happened with 45-year-old park visitor Barbara Brady. The woman decided to ride on the attraction called Top Scan, a windmill with 6 blades and 5 seats fixed on each of them. Barbara weighed about 113 kilograms. But the park employee assured her that the attraction had no weight restrictions. And when the carousel was already in motion, Brady was thrown from her seat. The operator immediately stopped the attraction and ran for help. The woman flew over the park wall, more than 7.5 meters high, and fell on the car windshield parked there. The force of the blow threw her to the ground. The woman died on the spot, clinging to life a few minutes after the fatal blow. However, the cause of the accident turned out to be rather mysterious. None of the other Top Scan passengers noticed anything unusual about Barbara. Besides, the carousel is equipped with a built-in mechanism that prevents it from starting unless all seatbelts are locked. Moreover, there was no noticeable damage to Barbara's seat. However, the results of the investigation are unknown. Moreover, although Top Scan was closed forever, the Adventureland itself continued working as if nothing had happened. Roller coasters still...
So was she... Had she clipped the seatbelt in? But like, you know, like when some people sit in a car and they go, "I'll just hold it here and I'll just put it over the..." You know what I mean? They don't sit in the seat with the seatbelt on them proper. I think it was uncomfortable, and so she adjusted it, and then that's what maybe threw her out. Oh, man. 7 meters in the air landing on a car. I mean, and like I say, I know we're not seeing it, but the visuals and the way he's explaining what happened, wow.
Unknown. Moreover, although Top Scan was closed forever, the Adventureland itself continued working as if nothing had happened.
Wow.
Roller coasters still remain the leader among the most dangerous attractions. This proved another incident that this time happened in the Canadian Fantasyland in June of 1986. 2 best friends, Rod Chaco and David Sager, decided to make their dream come true and ride on the highest indoor roller coaster in the world, Mindbender. It rose up to 44 meters and had a triple loop. When the men arrived at the park, they were just in time to take the last 2 seats at the end of the carriage. The ride activated as usual, but during the first loop, Rod noticed their car rocking strangely from side to side. He gripped the safety bar tighter, yet it couldn't hold him in the seat during the next steep turn. The guy flew over David and fell off the attraction. The worst was yet to come.
What?
At the 3rd loop, the last car broke away from the rest, slowed down, flew downward, and crashed into a concrete support. A minute later, Rod Chaco came around without any idea of how he had just flown out of the roller coaster. He tried to get up but felt pain all over his body. Not being able to breathe properly, Chaco also noted his unnaturally twisted legs and guessed what had happened. As the man flew over the fence, he was found only 15 minutes afterward. When the doctors finally got to Rod, they were horrified. The man practically got folded in half because of the fractures. Both of his legs were broken, together with almost all the ribs on the left side, a pelvis and shoulder, and a punctured lung. After such severe injuries, Chaco had to learn to walk again for more than 6 months.
Jesus.
But what hurt him the most was the news that his friend David Sager had died along with 2 other passengers, a young engaged couple. The investigation showed that the tragedy occurred due to one of the wheel's missing bolts. As a result, Mindbender was closed for several months, but soon afterward, re-equipped, and the attraction continued to work until the winter of 2023. However, the park has been closed for renovations, so the world's largest indoor slide may continue to operate. It would seem that this number of gruesome deaths should be enough to make amusement parks take safety.
I mean, it's like, why would you not check the bolts on the cars regular? And why was the bolts missing? They should be checked every single day.
It would seem that this number of gruesome deaths should be enough to make amusement parks take safety more seriously. Still, the attractions keep attracting an increasing number of accidents. The only difference is that now they are also filmed, like, for example, in Ohio in July of 2017. The attraction called Fireball was a favorite spot for 8...
Do you know that one, right? Come on. Ohio's near, is your country, isn't it? Your state or whatever place. Do you know this ride?
July of 2017. The attraction called Fireball was a favorite spot for 18-year-old cousins Travis and Mitch Taylor. The attraction swayed like a pendulum and at the same time rotated around its axis, raising people up to 12 meters. On July 26th, the cousins came to the Ohio State Fair for the 9th year in a row to conquer the Fireball. However, they got hungry on the road and stopped at food shops. This is probably what saved the boys' lives. After a few minutes, their favorite attraction suddenly crashed into a concrete support.
Jeez.
The powerful impact tore out a whole row of seats. A few more people's safety belts failed, and they fell from a height of over 6 meters. 7 people got injured, and 1 passenger didn't survive. Fireball was immediately shut down not only at the Ohio State Fair, but throughout the state as well.
Yeah.
The owners of the amusement parks decided not to take any risks once again and blame the attraction's manufacturer for the tragedy. The Ohio State Fair remains one of the largest...
They pass the buck on the manufacturers, don't they? That's what they're doing here. So the park's not to blame, when basically people are just being slack when it comes to maintenance and checking things over.
...as manufacturer for the tragedy.
Yeah.
The Ohio State Fair remains one of the largest in the United States, with about 1 million visitors annually. Yet, even if all possible safety rules are followed in amusement parks, something unpredictable can still happen there. For instance, as it happened in September of 2003 in Disneyland, one of the attractions in this legendary amusement park is the bright Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. This is not an extreme slide, but a family attraction stylized as a real canyon.
Right.
On the morning of September 6th, something went completely wrong. The carriage, filled with people, followed its usual route until it reached the dark, narrow tunnel that is part of the attraction. There, the first car derailed out of the blue, blocking the passage. Some of the frightened passengers were able to get out of the trap on their own, but other people were badly injured, so they desperately called for help. Firefighters arrived at the accident scene in a matter of minutes, followed by ambulances. However, they couldn't reach the affected people. At first, the rescuers wanted to use special mechanical jaws, which were used to get the wounded who were stuck in the wreckage of cars. But the equipment simply wouldn't fit in the narrow tunnel. Therefore, firefighters had to work manually. In the end, the rescue operation took almost an hour. 1 passenger passed away, and 10 others, including a 9-year-old child, were injured. The attraction was closed for the investigation and then relaunched again. But if the incident in Disneyland can be called unexpected, what happened in the Chinese Eco-Venture Valley is a real mystery. This is a giant amusement park located in the city of Shenzhen. There was one of the most incredible and mysterious attractions, Space Journey. This is a 24-meter dome with a kind of space rocket launch simulator under it. 40 passengers in 10 separate cabins could fly in a centrifuge simultaneously, experiencing an acceleration twice that of Earth's gravity.
Wow.
However, in July of 2010, a terrible accident happened there, and 6 people died, while 10 more got injured. Nevertheless, neither the park employees nor the police ever explained what happened. Passengers of the notorious attraction who witnessed the tragedy say completely different things. Some claim that the electricity went out before the accident. Others say they heard an explosion, or even several. In the end, the cause of the tragedy remained a mystery. Some even thought the explosion was specially arranged, perhaps by the park's competitors, because the unique attraction hasn't worked since then. Either way, there are countless attractions around the world that can kill you in various ways.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you think? Is it worth taking such a risk to have fun for a few minutes? Share your thoughts, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. It helps our channel so you can watch even more incredible videos.
Whew. Real mixture of like stock footage and real events, obviously in that video. But I mean, the way it was explained was very, very detailed, and it gave you the the visuals that you don't really want. But man, Some of them were pretty rough. Don't think I'll ever go on a roller coaster again now after seeing that. Sit there thinking, oh, is this going to happen? Is that going to happen? You know what I mean? I've been on loads of roller coasters, me, but now I'm thinking like, yeah. I might just give it a miss next time. Anyway, what do you guys think of this reaction? Let me know in the comments. If you want to check out any more from the disaster stories, there'll be a playlist right up there. Don't forget to subscribe, and I shall see you all in the next video.